Chapter 1. The Lobby. The rain poured heavily that July Monday in São Paulo. In the grand lobby of Tech Vision Corporation, one of the most luxurious towers on Avenida Paulista, executives rushed in under designer umbrellas, Italian shoes clicking on imported marble. Tech Vision was not just any company. It was an empire built over 30 years. Founded by Roberto Mendes de Silva, it had started as a small computer repair shop and now had 15,000 employees in 12 countries, with annual revenue of $8 billion. But no one knew the founder was seriously ill. Terminal cancer, 6 months to live at most. And Roberto had a plan. Amid all that opulence, one figure didn't fit there at all. A 23-year-old woman with wet brown hair stuck to her face, faded jeans with a real tear at the knee, a plain white shirt grayed from too many washes, fake all-star sneakers that let water in, and an old Jansport backpack like the ones everyone used at school. She stopped at reception, dripping on the floor and trembling slightly with nerves. "Excuse me," she said softly, almost lost in the lobby's noise. The receptionist, a woman in her 40s with perfect nails and a blazer worth more than 2 minimum wages, kept typing without looking up. "Excuse me," the young woman repeated, louder this time. The receptionist finally looked, and her gaze ran slowly from head to toe, judging. Her hands trembled. Temporary IDs were always yellow, so everyone knew you were inferior. Permanent staff used blue. Managers green, directors black. While she waited for the elevator, wet and holding her old backpack, 3 people approached. Rodrigo Santos, 38, sales manager, in a gray Hugo Boss suit, silk tie, and a shiny submariner on his wrist. It was the kind of look that said, "What are you doing here?" "Yes?" she asked, more sharp. It's my first day. I'm the new administrative assistant." The receptionist sighed as if terribly annoyed. "Name?" Laura Silva." Fingers flew on the keyboard. "There's no Laura Silva here." Laura's heart dropped. "But I have the email here." "Wait, Laura Silva Santos?" "No, just Laura Silva." More impatient typing. "Here, found it. Laura Mendes de Silva. That you?" "Yes." "Sorry, my name is long, and 3rd floor, HR. Take a temporary badge from that tray. Wear it around your neck. Never remove it. Lose it, and you pay a 500 real fine." "Next." Laura grabbed a yellow badge. It was a fake Rolex, but no one got close enough to notice. His hair was slicked with gel. His perfume could be smelled from meters away. The kind of guy who felt like a king because he drove a financed Audi A5. Next came Mariana Costa, 35, marketing coordinator, in fake Louboutin heels, a Chanel bag, white suit, and flawless blow-dry. Her makeup was perfect, curated for selfies. She had thousands of Instagram followers admiring her successful life, but no one knew she still lived with her mother to keep the illusion. Then came Julio Almeida, 42, senior IT analyst. He didn't care much about clothes, but made up for it with pure arrogance, a self-declared misunderstood genius. The 3 looked at Laura and smiled, a poisonous kind of smile. "Guys, look," Rodrigo said loudly. They hired another little intern. "Wow, Rodrigo, look at that backpack," Mariana fake whispered. "You can buy the same at the Brosh Street Market for 20 reais. And those shoes," Julio laughed. "They're soaked." Bet she came on a packed subway. Laura felt her face burn. She gripped the backpack straps tighter and stared at the floor. "She's probably related to someone from cleaning," Mariana added. "There's always a niece or cousin the company has to squeeze in." The elevator finally opened. Laura hurried inside, desperate to disappear. The 3 followed, still laughing and whispering. "Which floor, sweetheart?" Rodrigo asked with fake politeness. "3rd, Laura murmured. "What a coincidence," he said. "We're going to the 3rd too. You're working on our floor." Lucky us, huh? They burst into loud laughter. The 15 floors up to the third felt like the longest elevator ride of Laura's life. She watched the numbers change, silent. If they had paid attention, they would have noticed something in her eyes. Not the shine of tears, but of determination. Someone memorizing every word, every humiliation, every face. Part 2. The first day. Chapter 2. The open space. The third floor of TechVision was the classic cool modern office companies loved to show in glossy photos. It was a giant open space with no walls, light wood desks, colorful ergonomic chairs, sticky notes everywhere, a pool table in the corner that nobody used, an Italian coffee machine, beanbags, plants, and a motivational phrase on the wall. Innovation is in our DNA. There was even a slide to the second floor, later banned by HR after an accident. Almost 80 people worked there. Sales, marketing, IT, admin, finance. The elite of the company, as they liked to call themselves. Laura stepped out of the elevator and froze, lost, not knowing where to go. No one looked at her. No one asked if she needed help. She walked slowly between desks until she found the small internal reception desk. There, a woman around 50 typed frantically. "Excuse me," Laura said. The woman kept typing. "Excuse me," Laura repeated, a little louder. "1 minute." The woman shouted without lifting her eyes from the screen. Laura waited. 2 minutes. 5. 10. People walked by. No one seemed to notice her. Finally, the woman looked up, annoyed and tired. "What do you want?" she asked. "I'm the new administrative assistant. It's my first day, and—" "Oh, you," the woman cut in. She stood up, grabbed a clipboard. "I'm Claudia Mendez, HR supervisor. Follow me." Claudia walked quickly, heels hitting the floor loudly, and Laura almost had to jog behind her, still damp and clutching her backpack. "Here's the kitchen. You can use it at lunch. Bathrooms. Women left, men right. Meeting room. Only if you're invited. Lounge area. Mostly for managers and coordinators." They passed Rodrigo's desk. He was on the phone, speaking loudly on purpose. "Yes. Close the 500K deal. I am the best salesperson here. You won't regret it, believe me." Other side, Mariana was touching up her makeup with a small mirror while scrolling on her phone. Hard at work, clearly. And here, Claudia stopped in the darkest corner of the floor, far from the windows, near storage and the bathroom. "Is your desk?" Laura looked. It wasn't even a real desk, more like a leftover side table in the corner. The computer was at least 10 years old, with a bulky yellowed monitor. The chair was ripped and crooked. All the other desks were modern, with 2 monitors, laptops, ergonomic chairs. "Any problem?" Claudia asked impatiently. "No," Laura said quickly. "It's fine. Your login and password are on this paper. You'll reply as assistant siadm@techvision.com. Anything no one wants to do will be sent to that inbox," Claudia added. "Your hours are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., 1 hour lunch. Don't be late. Any doubts? What will my tasks be exactly?" Laura asked. Claudia let out a dry laugh. "You're an administrative assistant. Your job is simple, whatever they tell you. Filing, printing, coffee, notes, emails." She walked away, leaving Laura alone. Laura sat in the crooked chair and turned on the computer. It took 8 minutes to load. People whispered and giggled nearby. A man walked past, dropped a 1 real coin on her desk, and said, "Here, buy yourself a coffee." A group burst into laughter. Laura kept the coin silently and took a deep breath. At 10:15 a.m., Rodrigo appeared carrying a massive pile of folders, at least 300 of them. "Hey, newbie, your name again?" "Laura." "Good. You'll organize all this. Alphabetical by client, then chronological by closing date, and grouped by value. Then make an Excel summary. I need it by 5 p.m. Laura stared at the huge stack in disbelief. These are a lot, she said. I've never done this. Could you explain? Rodrigo leaned toward her. I don't have time to hold a rookie's hand. You were hired to work, not ask stupid questions. If you can't handle it, I'll find someone who can. He dropped the folders on her desk. Several fell to the floor. People around them took photos. Laura crouched and gathered the folders quietly. She sat down and began working fast. At noon, she took her simple lunch rice, beans and a boiled egg to the cafeteria. She sat alone. At the next table, Rodrigo's group talked loudly on purpose. Guys, did you see the newbie's lunch? Mariana said. It looks like prison food. Bet she didn't buy from the buffet, Julio mocked. She probably can't afford 35 reais. She must live far, Mariana added. Capão Redondo, maybe. Yep, Claudia said. I saw her file. It was a lie, but they didn't care. Laura ate in silence, hands shaking not from sadness, but controlled anger. She quietly opened her phone. She began typing notes. Monday, 12:15. Rodrigo. Classist insult. Mariana. Mocking lunch. Julio. Degrading comment. Claudia. Shared personal address. Her father had always said, document everything. At 1 p.m., she returned to her desk and continued working. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. She was far more qualified than they knew. By 4:45 p.m., she had finished all 300 folders sorted, reviewed, and entered into a clean Excel spreadsheet with charts. She handed it to Rodrigo. He looked at it for 5 seconds, shrugged, and said, Leave it there. No thanks. No acknowledgement. Laura walked back to her desk, but not before making a personal copy of the spreadsheet. She had noticed something. Several contracts Rodrigo claimed were actually signed by junior employees. He was stealing credit and commissions. She added that to her notes. Part 3. Escalation. Chapter 4. Tuesday. Tuesday morning, Laura arrived early. Her clothes were still the same. Her shoes still wet from yesterday's rain. At 8:30, Mariana walked by. Laura, make me coffee. Strong, sweet. Bring it to my desk. Laura nodded. At 9, Julio ordered his. At 9:30, Rodrigo. By 11, 12 people had asked her for coffee. No one said, thank you. One manager, Fernando, tasted the coffee and spat it back into the cup. This is awful. You can't even make coffee, right? He tossed the cup toward the trash bin on purpose and missed, splashing coffee onto the floor beside her feet. Oops. Clean that up. Laura knelt and wiped the floor as people laughed and took photos. While cleaning, she realized something important. Her email account received automatic copies of all interdepartment messages with certain keywords. Words like urgent, contract, problem, or meeting. So while wiping spilled coffee, Laura already knew. Rodrigo had lost a 2 million real client and hid it. Mariana authorized a 500K campaign without approval. Julio installed pirated software on company machines. Claudia was involved in harassment cases. Fernando was misusing company funds. Laura documented everything carefully, but knew she couldn't accuse anyone yet. She needed undeniable proof. Chapter 5. Wednesday. Wednesday at 2 p.m. was the monthly results meeting. The most important meeting of the month. Laura was assigned to take notes. Sit there, Claudia said, pointing to a tiny folding chair in the corner of the room. You'll write everything. If you miss something, you're fired. Understood? Yes. The room was impressive. Glass table, leather chairs, huge screen, panoramic view of São Paulo. Everyone entered. Rodrigo, Mariana, Julio, Fernando, managers, coordinators, 2 board members, and the general director, Carlos. Laura sat in her tiny chair silently. Rodrigo was the first to present. His slides were colorful and full of photos. As you can see, the sales team had an exceptional quarter. We beat our target by 15%. We closed 47 new deals. My team, which I personally trained, is the best in the company. Everyone clapped. Then a board member, Alberto, asked about the Mega Solutions client. Rodrigo walked toward her. You think you know more than me? You've been here 2 days. You think you can question my work? I didn't mean... You meant nothing. Sit there quietly and take notes. That's all you're good for. The room erupted in laughter. Even managers giggled. Laura stayed quiet, but her hand gripped her pen tightly. Rodrigo froze for a second. Ah, yes. A small misunderstanding. Nothing serious, Laura murmured under her breath. Misunderstanding? Rodrigo heard it. He turned slowly. Sorry, he said loudly. Does the intern have something to say? 20 pairs of eyes turned toward Laura. She shrank in her seat. No, you just what? She wrote, Wednesday, 14/23. Rodrigo, public humiliation, moral harassment. 22 witnesses. Everyone complicit. The meeting continued. Mariana presented inflated marketing numbers. Julio presented improvements. Fernando talked about cost reductions. At 4 p.m., the meeting ended. Laura stayed behind, alone, with her notes and a decision. Chapter 6. Night Investigation. That night, Laura stayed after everyone left. At 6:30 p.m., the floor was empty. She turned on her computer and began digging through shared folders. Rodrigo's folder. The Mega Solutions contract canceled 3 weeks ago for negligence. An email confessing he'd hide it until December and blame his junior team. He had also reassigned several contracts closed by junior sellers to his own name. Mariana's folder held a $500K unauthorized campaign, fake invoices, and chats mocking clients. Julio had pirated software lists and leaked spreadsheets. Claudia had harassment cases and emails suggesting firing sick employees. Fernando had fake client expenses for his affair. Laura saved everything into organized folders, zipped them, and copied them onto 3 different flash drives. Then she accessed the executive assistant's email. His password was in a shared spreadsheet. Security was non-existent. There, she found something that changed everything. Messages between her father, Roberto, and director Carlos. The second email said, Laura starts Monday. No one must know. Let her struggle, learn, and see who's worth keeping. If she survives the month, we reveal her identity. Laura read it multiple times. The shock faded, replaced by a cold smile. Her father was ill, but still strategic. He had given her the most powerful weapon, the truth. The first email revealed Roberto's diagnosis. Terminal cancer, 6 to 12 months to live. He wrote that Laura would take over the company, but needed to start at the bottom to see the real tech vision. She would be hired under her mother's maiden name, Silva Santos. No one could protect her. If she couldn't handle pressure, she wasn't ready. Part 4. Thursday. Chapter 7. The day she didn't show up. Thursday morning, 8 a.m. Laura's desk was empty. Look, the newbie quit already, Mariana said, annoyed she had to make her own coffee. I knew she couldn't handle it, Julio added. These poor girls can't survive a real company, Fernando laughed. Rodrigo felt particularly victorious. The day went on. Meetings, gossip, coffee. No one remembered Laura. At 1:47 p.m., every phone on the 3rd floor rang at once. A female voice came through the intercom. Attention! All employees of the 3rd floor. Report to the main meeting room immediately. This is a presidential summons. Silence spread. Everyone panicked. Presidency? Roberto isn't even in the country. What's happening? Mass layoffs? People whispered nervously. Rodrigo tried to act calm, but his voice shook. Mariana checked her makeup compulsively. Julio closed browser tabs quickly. Claudia's hands trembled. Fernando turned pale. One by one, they all walked to the meeting room. She turned slowly. Her eyes were the same, but her posture was completely different. No fear, no shrinking. Authority radiated from her. "Sit," she said calmly. No one moved. "Sit," she repeated, firmer. Everyone obeyed instantly. Rodrigo, Mariana, Julio, Claudia, and the rest sat like reprimanded schoolchildren, stunned and whispering. Laura walked around the table, her heels echoing in the room. "I'd like to introduce myself properly," she began. "Something I couldn't do these past 4 days." She stopped, placing her hands on the table. "My name is Laura Mendez da Silva." Confused faces. "Daughter of Roberto Mendez da Silva, founder and president of this company." Hairs in a U shape. At the center, back to them, looking out at São Paulo, stood a woman. Laura, but not the Laura they knew. Her hair was perfectly styled. She wore a navy Armani blazer, black pencil skirt, real Louboutin heels, a Patek Philippe watch, and diamond earrings. A collective gasp filled the room. Mariana covered her mouth. Julio turned white. Rodrigo looked ready to faint. "Impossible," Claudia whispered. "Impossible?" Laura smiled coldly. "I can prove it." She opened her leather folder and laid down her birth certificate, diploma from FGV, MBA, governance certification, and a leadership course from Harvard. "You never even checked my resume," she said. "To you, I was just a poor intern from the favela." Silence filled the room. "My father is dying," she continued. "Terminal cancer. And I will take over TechVision. But first, he wanted me to see the company from the bottom, to see the real culture. And what I found was rot. This company is toxic, cruel, disrespectful, corrupt." She pulled out her notes. "Monday morning, you mocked my clothes, insulted my background, laughed at me. Monday afternoon, you humiliated me again. Tuesday, you treated me like a servant. Wednesday, you humiliated me in front of 22 people." The room froze under her gaze. Laura connected her laptop to the projector. "And now we discuss the crimes." Rodrigo's email appeared, admitting he lost a 2 million real client and planned to hide it and blame his junior team. The room erupted with whispers. "Yesterday you claimed everything was fine," Laura said. "Here is proof you lied." Rodrigo shook uncontrollably. Next slide. Contracts closed by junior sellers registered under Rodrigo's name. "Commission theft," Laura stated. "Fraud." Rodrigo tried to speak, but no sound came out. "Rodrigo Santos," she said clearly, "you are fired for cause. Security will escort you out. You have 30 minutes to collect personal belongings." 2 guards entered immediately. "But the worst part," Laura said, "is not what you did to me. I'll survive. The worst part is that you do this to everyone you consider lesser. I reviewed complaints, spoke to ex-employees, and checked legal cases. This floor is a factory of harassment, discrimination, and silence." Some employees lowered their heads, ashamed. Mariana was next. Fake invoices, canceled events charged in full, and money redirected to her sister's fake company. Plus screenshots of her mocking clients in private groups. "You endangered the company's reputation," Laura said. Mariana Costa, fired for fraud and breach of confidentiality. Mariana left crying, escorted by security. Next, Julio. Pirated software installed across the company. Legal risk worth millions, and emails leaking confidential spreadsheets to competitors. Corporate espionage, Laura said. "You almost cost us tens of millions." Julio was fired immediately. Then, Claudia. Harassment cases, abusive audio recordings, and an email ordering a sick worker fired. "You turned HR into a weapon," Laura said. Fired. Finally, Fernando, Hotel bills, fake client expenses, and photos with an intern he was having an affair with. Misuse of funds, harassment, fired. One by one, each wrongdoing was exposed. The remaining employees trembled as Laura addressed them all with firm but controlled anger. "You who remain," she said, "were complicit by silence. But you committed no documented crimes. You will have a 90-day probation. One complaint, one act of disrespect, and you're out. Mandatory ethics and compliance training begins today." The employees nodded nervously. Laura dismissed them. The room emptied quickly. Alone again, Laura finally allowed herself to breathe. She called her father. "Dad, today I fired 5 people and exposed everything." Roberto's weak voice replied proudly, "You did what needed to be done." Laura looked out over São Paulo. "Now I rebuild this company the right way." It was the end of the infiltration. Now the real work began. Part 6. Rebuilding. Chapter 14. First day as CEO. Monday morning, 7:30 a.m. Laura entered TechVision not as an intern, but as the new CEO. The news had exploded online all weekend. Founder's daughter exposed corporate corruption. Employees stared as she walked by. The rude receptionist from day one froze when Laura approached. "Good morning, Mrs. Mendes," she said shakily. Laura paused. "Your name?" "Carla." "Good morning, Carla. On my first day, you treated me poorly because you thought I was nobody." Carla's face paled. I'm so sorry. I didn't know." "Exactly. You didn't know who I was, and you judged me anyway. That must never happen again. You'll stay in your job," Laura continued. "But from now on, you treat everyone who walks in, CEOs or janitors, with the same respect. Understood?" Carla nodded rapidly. Laura entered the 15th floor, her father's floor. Roberto waited, thinner but smiling. "Good morning, CEO," he greeted. They embraced. "You caused a storm," he said proudly. At 9 a.m., Laura held a company-wide meeting with 200 employees in the auditorium. She took the stage. "Good morning. I know you've heard everything. Yes, I am young. Yes, I am the founder's daughter. But I will earn my place. Last week, I saw the truth of our culture. And what I saw was painful. Discrimination, fear, and disrespect. But today, we start a new chapter." She outlined sweeping reforms. An anonymous whistleblower channel reviewed personally by her. A 30% salary increase for operational staff. Transparency of salary ranges. Mentorship programs. And a diversity policy requiring 50% of new hires to come from underrepresented groups. The room erupted in applause. "If anyone thinks this is political correctness or overreacting, you may leave now," Laura said. No one moved. "Good. Then let's build something better together." Later that day, at lunch, Laura visited the separate cafeteria used by cleaning staff. She sat with 5 women who stared in disbelief. "I want to know how you're treated here," she said. Donna Maria, 58, who had worked there for 15 years, finally spoke. "Most people ignore us. Some drop trash at our feet. But one girl, Amanda from accounting, is always kind." Laura took notes, stayed for an hour, listened to stories. The next morning, each woman received a 500 real gift card and a handwritten card. "Thank you for caring for us." Chapter 17. Meeting with investors. 3 months later, TechVision had transformed. Turnover dropped 60%. Satisfaction rose to 4.6 out of 5. Productivity grew 23%. New clients signed contracts because they admired the new culture. But not all investors were convinced. Alberto requested a meeting. "Laura, your changes are costly. You raised salaries, launched training, and fired experienced executives. Investors want stability." Laura remained calm. She showed him charts of declining growth over the last 5 years, rising turnover, and 23 annual harassment lawsuits costing over 3 million reais. The old culture wasn't sustainable, she said. Then she showed new numbers. Turnover at 18%, 0 new lawsuits, higher productivity, and 8.5 million reais in new contracts. Investing in people pays for itself, she said. Alberto studied the graphs and slowly nodded. Roberto chose well, he said. You're better than I expected. I'll support you 6 months. Deliver results. Lavra exhaled after he left. Another battle won. Chapter 18. Rodrigo returns. 4 months later, on a Friday evening, security called. Rodrigo was in the lobby asking to speak with her. He arrived in her office disheveled and exhausted. I can't get a job, he said. No one will hire me. I came to apologize, not to ask for anything. Lavra studied him. You didn't just mistreat me. You stole commissions, hid losses, and destroyed your team. Rodrigo nodded, ashamed. I know. I realized who I became. Lavra remembered her father's words. Mistakes of incompetence can be trained. Mistakes of character must be confronted. I'll offer one path, she said. You'll volunteer in an NGO teaching sales to underprivileged. You've kids who resemble the girl you mocked on Monday morning. 3 nights a week, 6 months. If the coordinator says you were exceptional, I'll use my influence to help you restart your career. Not here, but somewhere. Rodrigo accepted instantly. Then prove it, she said. After he left, Lavra called her father. Did I make a mistake? She asked. No, Roberto replied gently. I would have kept him fired, but you chose compassion and accountability. That's leadership. 6 months later, Rodrigo completed the program. Chapter 19. 1-year celebration. TechVision thrived under Laura's leadership. Growth reached 18%. Profits rose 31%. Turnover dropped to 12%, and the company won awards for being one of the best workplaces in technology. Lavra hosted a celebration with barbecue, music, and families invited. She took time to greet everyone personally. On stage, she honored Donna Maria with a scholarship for her grandson, Matheus. Chapter 20. Dubai. A year and a half later, Roberto's condition worsened. In his hospital room, Lavra held his hand. I'm not ready to lose you, she whispered. You're more ready than you think, he said. I built a profitable company. You built a humane one. Never lose your humanity. And never judge someone by their clothes or origins. She promoted Amanda, the only person kind to cleaning staff, to accounting coordinator with a 40% raise. Then she called Rodrigo on stage. He made mistakes, she told the crowd, but he spent 6 months helping young people succeed. He earned a second chance. She offered him a junior analyst role in the Rio branch. Rodrigo accepted with tears. Lavra cried softly. I promise. Roberto smiled weakly. I love you, daughter. I love you too. He passed away at 3:27 a.m., Lara mourned, but carried forward his legacy stronger and kinder. Epilogue. 5 years later. TechVision had 35,000 employees across 28 countries, earning $25 billion annually, ranked 3rd best workplace worldwide. Diversity flourished. Over half of leadership were women, and 43% were black professionals. Former janitors became analysts. Former security guards became managers. The culture was healthy, collaborative, and ethical. In her office, Lavra kept 3 framed items: her yellow intern badge, a photo with Donna Maria, and a quote from Roberto. The real power is not making others bow to you. It's lifting others until they can stand beside you. In a TV interview, the reporter asked, what lesson would you give other leaders? Lavra answered, never underestimate quiet people or those who seem small. Treat everyone with dignity, because you never know who they'll become. That intern might be your future CEO. That cleaner might be the heart of your company. And if you can't treat people well because it's right, then do it for self-preservation. because anyone you mistreat today could decide your future tomorrow. That night, at home, Laura read a message from Rodrigo. He'd become a branch manager. Laura smiled. "You did it, Rodrigo," she replied. On her balcony, she looked at the city lights and whispered, "I did it, Dad. The right way." She knew he would be proud. The company was strong, not because of profit, but because it finally valued people. And Laura, once the invisible intern, had become the leader her father always knew she could be. That night, after Rodrigo's message, Laura stayed on the balcony a little longer. The wind was cool, carrying the distant noise of São Paulo's endless movement. Despite everything, loss, pressure, responsibility, she felt a quiet peace. She had rebuilt the company, yes, but also rebuilt herself. She finally understood what her father meant by power with purpose. The next morning, she arrived early at TechVision. Employees greeted her warmly, something unthinkable a few years earlier. A young intern approached her shyly. "Ms. Mendez, can I ask something?" Laura smiled. "Of course." The intern hesitated. "How did you survive everything? How did you not give up?" Laura thought for a moment. "Because I knew the difference between who I was and how they treated me. Their behavior didn't define my worth. And I had something they didn't, clarity of purpose. When you know why you're fighting, the noise around you becomes small." The intern nodded, visibly inspired. Later that week, Laura held a leadership workshop. She talked about accountability, empathy, and the courage to challenge harmful norms. Several managers confessed they had never seen a leader combine firmness with kindness so naturally. One whispered to another, "It's strange. I actually want to do better now." Despite all successes, Laura never forgot where change truly began. At the bottom, disguised as an invisible assistant. Sometimes she walked through the same third-floor open space where she had once been humiliated. Not to relive pain, but to remind herself of how quickly people judge and how powerfully kindness could rewrite stories. One afternoon, she passed by the cafeteria. A new employee was sitting alone with a simple homemade meal, quiet, nervous, ignored. Laura recognized the look instantly. She sat beside her. "Mind if I join?" The young woman's eyes widened. You're the CEO." "Yes," Laura smiled. "And you're someone worth talking to." They talked for 20 minutes. The new hire revealed she was the first in her family to finish school, terrified of disappointing everyone. Laura reassured her, "You earned your place here. And if anyone makes you feel small, come straight to me." That moment ignited a transformation. The new hire later became one of the company's rising stars. TechVision's culture continued evolving. Departments collaborated instead of competing. Employees spoke up without fear. A new initiative allowed any worker, from cleaners to directors, to propose innovations directly to Laura. One idea from a maintenance technician led to a huge sustainability project that saved the company millions. As years passed, other companies studied TechVision's success. Journalists wrote articles calling Laura's leadership style the new corporate revolution. Universities invited her to speak about ethical culture and the psychology of respect. Her message was always the same. People don't leave companies. They leave environments that make them feel unseen. One day, while reviewing proposals, Laura found an anonymous letter on her desk. Only a few lines. "Thank you for seeing people like me. You changed my life without ever knowing my name." She paused, touched. Moments like that reminded her why she fought so fiercely for a culture that valued every human being behind each badge. That evening, as she prepared to leave, she noticed the sunset painting the glass towers in hues of gold and orange. She whispered, "We're on the right path, Dad." She imagined his warm smile, full of pride. She was no longer leading alone. His lessons guided every decision, every reform, every act of courage and compassion. Laura turned off the office lights and walked through the hallway. Employees waved, some stopping to say goodnight. She realized something profound. The company no longer feared its leader. They trusted her. Respect had replaced fear. And that, she thought, was the true sign of transformation. She closed the door gently behind her, hopeful for tomorrow. In the following months, TechVision reached new heights. Employee engagement soared, and productivity rivaled that of top global companies. But Laura knew the true achievement wasn't numbers. It was the sense of belonging spreading through every floor. People greeted each other by name. Departments shared victories instead of competing for them. To maintain this momentum, Laura launched a program called Voices of TechVision. Any employee could record a short message about their experiences. The stories were honest, sometimes emotional. One cleaner said, "For the first time, someone cared about my opinion." A security guard added, "I feel respected." That never happened before. Laura listened to every message personally. Some made her smile. Others brought tears. But each reinforced her belief that dignity wasn't a luxury. It was the foundation of progress. She shared selected stories at monthly meetings, reminding leaders that culture wasn't built by rules alone. It was built by how people treated one another daily. One afternoon, Laura visited the Rio branch, where Rodrigo now worked. He had started from the bottom, rebuilding piece by piece the reputation he once shattered. When she arrived, employees spoke warmly of him. "He's strict but fair," one said. "He listens," said another. Rodrigo approached her nervously. "I hope I've made you proud." "You have," Laura said sincerely. "You proved that change is possible when someone chooses honesty over ego." Rodrigo looked relieved. "Thank you for not giving up on me." She smiled. "You did the work. I only opened the door." Their conversation became an internal case study, proof that redemption, guided with boundaries, could transform a life. Back at headquarters, Laura began planning a new initiative, a leadership academy designed to teach future managers empathy-driven decision-making. She invited psychologists, educators, and industry experts. "A title doesn't make a leader," she told them. "Behavior does. And we must teach leaders how to uplift people, not intimidate them." The academy launched with overwhelming success. Enrollment filled in minutes. Employees from junior roles to senior managers attended sessions after work. They learned conflict resolution, inclusive communication, and how to recognize early signs of toxic behavior. Many admitted they had never been trained to lead, only to deliver results. Laura made participation optional at first, but soon the waiting list grew. People were hungry to improve, hungry for a healthier approach to leadership. One attendee said, "This feels like therapy for the corporate world." Another joked, "I wish my old boss had taken this." The company might still exist. Laughter echoed through the room. Meanwhile, global companies began requesting tours of TechVision to understand its cultural transformation. Laura welcomed them personally, explaining the fundamentals: transparency, accountability, fair wages, and an environment where no one was invisible. Some executives nodded politely. Others listened deeply, realizing their own cultures needed change. During one visit, a foreign CEO asked, "How did you get people to trust you so quickly?" Laura replied, "I didn't ask for trust, I earned it." Trust grows when leaders act consistently with their values, even when no one is watching. The room fell silent. It was a lesson many hadn't expected to hear from someone so young. At a quarterly conference, Laura presented data linking compassion to profitability. Shareholders listened with amazement as she demonstrated how ethical culture reduced turnover, lawsuits, and operational costs. "You don't lose money by treating people well," she said. "You lose money when neglect becomes normal." The applause was immediate and strong. That night, Laura stayed late at the office. The lights of São Paulo flickered below as she reviewed proposals, checked on training progress, and read employee feedback. She paused when she reached a message from a junior analyst. "Thank you for creating a place where I don't wake up afraid." Laura leaned back, feeling the weight and reward of leadership. As she prepared to leave, she saw a cleaning worker struggling to carry a large bin. Laura immediately helped her lift it. The woman smiled. "Thank you, CEO." Laura shook her head gently. Just Laura. It was moments like this that reminded her why the mission mattered, not for recognition, but for the simple humanity often missing in corporate life. On her way to the elevator, Laura caught a glimpse of her reflection in the glass. Not the girl with the soaked clothes and warm backpack, nor the polished CEO in designer heels, just a woman determined to make the workplace better. She whispered to herself, "Still learning, Dad. Every day." Then she stepped into the elevator and headed home. The following week, TechVision hosted an internal innovation fair. Employees from all departments were invited to display ideas that could improve the company. The event was a success. Projects ranged from AI-driven customer tools to a new wellness initiative designed by the janitorial team. Laura visited every booth, congratulating participants personally. One idea caught her attention, a mentorship platform created by 2 interns. It matched employees from different areas to share skills and experiences. "We wanted people who felt overlooked to have someone to guide them," one intern explained. Laura's eyes brightened. "This is brilliant. I want this launched company-wide." Their faces lit up with pride. Later that afternoon, Laura met with the operations team to review efficiency reports. Productivity had risen sharply, but she reminded them to stay alert. "Growth means nothing if people burn out," she said. Her approach surprised some executives who were used to leaders obsessed only with numbers. With Laura, the conversation always returned to people. During the meeting, a young employee nervously raised her hand. "Laura, sometimes I feel like my ideas aren't taken seriously because I'm new." Laura smiled warmly. "Experience matters, but insight isn't exclusive to seniority. Your voice counts. Keep speaking up." The room grew quiet as others realized how rarely leadership encouraged open dialogue. When the meeting ended, Laura walked through the floors, greeting teams and observing their routines. She noticed a small group of developers looking frustrated. "Everything okay?" she asked. One explained that outdated equipment slowed their work. Laura made a note and promised upgrades. No speeches, no delay, just decisive action that earned immediate trust. That night, she received a message from the HR team. Several employees wanted to volunteer for the mentorship program. Laura felt a warm sense of pride. The culture was shifting, not through fear, but through genuine willingness to help each other grow. It was exactly what she had hoped her father could witness. As the week progressed, another unexpected email reached her inbox. It was from a former employee who had left years ago due to harassment. "I heard about the reforms," they wrote. "If the company had been like this before, I would never have left." Laura closed her eyes for a moment, feeling both sadness and motivation to keep pushing forward. On Thursday morning, Laura met with the legal department. They presented updated compliance protocols, designed to prevent the abuses that once festered inside TechVision. As she reviewed the guidelines, Laura emphasized one rule: leaders who ignored misconduct would be held accountable. "Silence is complicity," she reminded them. Heads nodded in agreement. After the meeting, Laura visited the training center where new employees were attending onboarding. She introduced herself, not with grandeur, but with openness. "This company is rebuilt every time someone new arrives," she told them. "Your ideas, your integrity, your courage matter from day one." The newcomers listened closely, inspired by her sincerity. One trainee approached her afterward. "I used to be scared of corporate environments," he admitted. "They always felt hostile." Laura placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Then let's make this place different. You deserve respect here." His relief was palpable. For many, TechVision was becoming the workplace they had always hoped to find. Later, Laura received a report showing a rise in internal promotions across diverse backgrounds. Employees once overlooked were stepping into leadership roles. Reading the list brought a smile to her face. This wasn't charity, it was justice. Talent had always been there. Now it finally had room to shine. That evening, as she prepared to leave, she stopped by the rooftop terrace, a space she often used to clear her thoughts. The city lights stretched endlessly below. She whispered, "We're getting there, Dad." The wind brushed her hair, and for a moment she felt his presence again, steady and guiding, just as he had been in life. On Friday, Laura began the morning with a roundtable meeting involving team leaders from every department. She asked them to share one improvement they had noticed and one issue they believed still needed attention. Some were hesitant at first, but as the conversation flowed, honesty and vulnerability began to replace the old fear of retaliation. A finance supervisor admitted her team struggled with communication across departments. A junior engineer mentioned that some outdated software slowed progress. A marketing lead suggested more cross-team collaboration. Laura wrote everything down. "If it matters to you," she said, "it matters to me. No concern is too small when it affects our people." After the meeting, Laura walked with the marketing team to review their latest campaign. Instead of giving directives, she listened. They explained how they wanted the brand to reflect TechVision's new culture, one rooted in dignity, innovation, and trust. Laura approved the concept immediately. "This is who we are now," she said proudly. Later that afternoon, she received a message from the Rio branch. Rodrigo had completed his latest evaluation. The report described him as committed, humble, and supportive of his team. Laura exhaled slowly. Redemption wasn't guaranteed, but sometimes people proved they deserved it. She replied simply, "Tell him to keep going." As the day ended, the office buzzed with a calm energy, something TechVision had lacked for years. Laura watched teams collaborating with genuine enthusiasm. She knew challenges would come, but she also knew the company was stronger than ever. With a quiet smile, she turned off her monitor, ready for another week of rebuilding and possibility. The following Monday, Laura met with the global expansion team. TechVision was preparing to open offices in 3 new countries, but she insisted the cultural principles remain the same. "We don't export buildings," she said. "We export values." Her message was clear. Growth could never come at the cost of humanity. During the meeting, an analyst noted that some international partners were skeptical of her leadership because of her age. Laura responded calmly, "Let them doubt. Results speak louder than assumptions." The room felt energized by her confidence. She had transformed criticism into momentum, turning doubt into fuel rather than fear. Later that day, Laura visited the company's call center, a department often overlooked. Agents were surprised to see the CEO walking among them. She asked about challenges, workloads, even the quality of their headsets. One employee confessed that rude customers sometimes broke their spirit. Laura sat beside him. "Your work matters. Your voice matters too." She made sure supervisors were trained to support their teams, not intimidate them. By the time she left, the atmosphere had lightened. People felt seen again. Small interactions, she believed, were the foundation of trust, brick by brick, person by person. That night, she reviewed upcoming initiatives. Among them was a scholarship fund for employees' children, inspired by Donna Maria's grandson. Laura envisioned a future where TechVision wasn't just a workplace, but a source of opportunity. She smiled, imagining the lives that might change because someone finally chose to care. On Tuesday morning, Laura hosted a breakfast session with employees celebrating 5, 10, and 15 years at the company. Instead of formal speeches, She invited each of them to share a memory from their time at TechVision. Some stories were funny, others emotional, but all revealed how deeply people wanted to belong. After the session, a senior manager approached her and confessed, "I used to lead with fear because that's how I was taught. Now I realize how much damage that caused." Laura nodded gently. Acknowledging it is the first step. Changing it is the second. You're already on your way. His shoulders eased, the guilt slowly lifting. On Tuesday morning, Laura visited the training floor where a new leadership workshop was underway. The instructor greeted her warmly and invited her to share a few words. Laura spoke about courage, the courage to listen, to admit mistakes, and to choose integrity even when it's inconvenient. The room was silent, hanging on every word. After the session, a senior manager approached her and confessed, "I used to lead with fear because that's how I was taught. Now I realize how much damage that caused." Laura nodded gently. Acknowledging it is the first step. Changing it is the second. You're already on your way. His shoulders eased, the guilt slowly lifting. Back in her office, Laura reviewed the latest engagement metrics. Participation in mentorship programs had tripled. Anonymous reports dropped significantly. More employees were requesting training rather than resigning. Each number told a story proof that transformation was no longer an idea but a lived reality. One longtime employee confessed he had once considered leaving because the old culture made him feel invisible. "But now," he said, "I finally feel like I matter." Laura thanked him sincerely, realizing that healing a workplace meant healing people, not just processes. Every voice she heard strengthened her resolve to never let toxicity return. Later that day, Laura met with the diversity and inclusion team. They presented new initiatives to advance representation in leadership roles. "We're moving in the right direction," they said, "but there's more to do." Laura nodded. Progress required constant effort, and she was ready to continue pushing until equality wasn't a goal but a norm. That afternoon, she held a virtual call with the European branch. The team expressed excitement but also concerns about adapting the new cultural standards across different regions. Laura reassured them, "We won't impose identity. We'll build it together. The goal is respect, not uniformity." The call ended with renewed confidence. In the afternoon, she visited the rooftop garden recently expanded through an employee-led sustainability program. Plants of all kinds grew along curved paths, tended by volunteers during lunch breaks. Laura walked slowly, touched by the serenity. A simple garden, she thought, yet it symbolized the company's new beginning growth, nurtured with intention. Before leaving for the day, Laura took a moment to reflect in the quiet corridor outside her office. She ran her fingers over the framed quote from her father. "Lead so others can stand," it read. She whispered, "I'm trying, Dad." And with that grounding reminder, she stepped into the elevator, ready for the next chapter. As evening approached, she received a message from an intern working late. "Thank you for believing in us." Laura stared at the screen for a moment, then typed back, "Thank you for believing in yourselves." She shut down her computer, feeling hopeful. TechVision wasn't perfect, but it was becoming a place where people felt safe to dream again.